Salutare și bine v-am regăsit la emisiune. Invitatul meu de astăzi este un domn pe care încerc de multă vreme să-l aduc în emisiune. A mai fost o tentativă de a veni la Cluj, nu s-a întâmplat. A venit apoi la Iași și în sfârșit la Cluj. Guillermo Arriaga este scriitor, scenarist, producător, regizor, a lucrat cu Inaritul și a venit la Cluj la Festivalul Internațional de Carte Transilvania. Mr. Guillermo Arriaga, I'm honored to meet you. Thank you for accepting this interview for my TV show called Transilvania Culturala. Welcome in Cluj. I will start abruptly. Can you take me through your creative process? How you work when you are writing?
First of all, thank you for the interview. I'm very happy to be here in Cluj. It's my second time in Romania. I love Romania. It's a great place to be. And this is a beautiful city, indeed. And you know, Transilvania has all this mythic aura behind it. And when I write, I have no idea where I'm going. I was reading yesterday about a writer, an American writer, who makes a lot of research and he says, I only write if I know the ending. If I don't know the ending, I will get lost. And for me, I like to discover the ending. I have no idea what the ending is going to be. I have no idea of the characters, who are they going to be. So for me, it's like having a very thin outline and then began writing, and whatever comes to my mind, I will put it in the...
You want to be surprised?
In the novel, yeah. For example, when I came to Romania, I went to Bukovina. Bukovina, it's in my novel, and I'm sure that Transilvania is going to be in my novel.
You describe yourself as a hunter who works as a writer. Can you elaborate a little bit on this?
Yeah, that was a saying from a famous Spanish writer called Miguel Delibes, who many persons think that he deserved the Nobel Prize. He was very good, and he was a hunter, so I stole that phrase from him. But what I mean is that hunting for me is the base of my writing. I've been hunting since I'm very young. I do not come from a family of hunters. My father was not a hunter, my grandfather was not a hunter. I don't know where it comes from. And at the same time, a love for animals. It's a paradox, a profound love for animals and a profound love for hunting. But hunting allowed me to understand many of the processes of nature that are still inside me. And it gives me a sense of belonging. When you hunt, especially as I hunt with bow and arrow, it gives a sense to belong to the landscape, to belong to the land, and to understand the process of how you get your food, you know, and how much pain you can cause in another being. So I think I will not be a writer if I would not be a hunter beforehand.
You also love hunting for his contradictions. It's life and death, horror and...
Yeah, life and death, horror and beauty, cruelty against solidarity. You can see how animals, even from the mism species, kill themselves, you know? For example, if a wild turkey goes to the wrong flock, which is not his flock, he will be killed by the rest of the turkeys. Or the male, they will fight to death to get the females. So it's a strong fights all the time in nature.
How did you start writing? At 8?
I started writing at 8 because I love girls, and I was too shy, so I began writing letters. And
does it work? Does it work for
no,
girls?
It didn't work. It didn't work.
Maybe later.
No, it worked. It worked later in life. No, but I was very much in love with girls, but I was too shy to talk to them. So I began writing, and when I began writing, I began feeling that I have certain way of ordering my thoughts better than talking. And because I have ADD, attention deficit disorder, I have severe ADD, and in that manner, I can organize better my thoughts. So at the age of 9, 10 years old, I always wanted to be a writer, a director, an actor, and a sportsman, professional sportsman. I have been a writer and a director, not so much an actor, and a sportsman, I wasn't.
You are mixing your stories with events that you have experienced. What does it take for an event of your life to qualify to become a story?
I think all of them. There are writers, Jorge Luis Borges, a great Argentinian writer, who base his work on the work of others. He was a writer from his bibliothèque.
Yeah. That's why the bibliothèque, the library, is heaven for him.
Yeah. So, but there are writers who bring the influence from life itself. I think that I come from life. It doesn't mean I do not read. My bibliothèque is like 8,000 to 9,000 books, but I derive most of my influence from life, not from books.
In life, we never go linear, you said. A single dramatic event connects multi-layered stories. Why have you chosen this writing style, non-linear writing?
My writing style is not the non-linear. My writing style is that one that serves better the story I want to tell. Because I not always write linear. Sometimes non-linear. Sometimes I write linear. Sometimes I don't write non-linear. So I hope that I will be considered a writer who found the right structure to the story, and not trying to impose a structure to the story. So my last book, for example, goes linear. The previous one, no. The previous one jumps a lot in between perspectives and time. So it depends on the story.
Quote, you have to feel things. The process of discovering art is the same as discovering the person you love. You want to be surprised by your characters, the story, the ending. Why don't you want to know everything about them? Can you explain, please, how does it work?
It's not that I don't want, it's that I can do it. Since I have attention disorder, I have deficit of attention, I cannot see it and plan things. For me, it's very difficult to plan things. It's extremely difficult. It takes too much time for me. So it's more that it's a defect that I have.
But it's also a blessing.
It's also
a blessing. You have the map in your mind.
Yes, I have the map in my mind. It's not that I have the map in the mind, it's that I'm discovering. And since I am a hunter, you don't plan things. You go to the woods and you begin following the tracks and you say where the animal will be. That's the way I write. As a hunter, that's what I say, is I'm a hunter that write. It's like I cannot go plan, I'm gonna kill the deer here, hunt the deer here. First I go and say like, where is he walking to the place he feeds? Where is he drinking water? Where is he sleeping? So I began discovering the woods. That's how I think I discover the structure of my stories.
And the story tell you when the end is coming?
I think the story tells you everything. Who the character has to be, what has to happen, what are the contradictions inside the story. I think it tells everything.
You explore themes of grief, guilt, love, chance, and alienation. Why? are you writing about these topics?
You want to know the truth?
Yes.
I have no idea. I have no idea. You know something? I don't think that every writer is conscious about the subjects he's telling, or at least not the kind of writer or writing tradition I belong to. I know that they are very serious writers who have specific subjects they want to talk about. I let myself be absorbed by those obsessions, by themselves. It's not that I want to tell a message, it's not that I want to talk about some subjects. There are things that come once and again and again and again to me. You know, they say that a writer only writes one book in several
and then rewrite it.
Yeah, so I have no idea where it comes from. I have refused myself to go to psychoanalysis because I don't want to touch my brain, you know. I don't want to explain anything to myself. I want always to be a mystery why I write about that. A mystery for me, I think it will be also a mystery for the readers.
Maybe the writing has this role for you.
No, I don't think so.
No?
No, because for me writing is a lot of fun. You know, there are writers who are very tortured. I'm not a tortured man. I'm not a traumatized man. I'm a very happy person. I have a very happy life. So
full of stories.
Love stories. Yeah, I'm telling love stories all the time. I'm a romantic, no? You know, Romanian Mexicans, we are romantics. It comes from the Roman Empire, so.
I quote you. If I don't tell stories, I think they will grab me from the throat and squeeze me and kill me. So I feel that I have to tell them in order to not be killed by them. How do you see the life of a story?
That's something I feel, that if I don't tell a story, it begins to grab my neck. I have this ideological need to tell stories. And since I was a kid, instead of explaining myself through ideas, I explain myself through stories. There are people who, you know, they are very abstract, and they are able to tell a story in an abstract way. I cannot do that. I need to be concrete. So it becomes more a physical thing more than an intellectual thing. So I have this need to tell stories. And I have an addiction to write, an addiction to create. Because every time I can, I go to my computer and write. And if I can, I will be directing. 1 week I will direct, 1 week I will write, 1 week I will direct, 1 week I will write. Unfortunately, that's not possible.
How was it for you working with Mr. Inaritu? You intend to be like own brothers?
Well, I think that we make 3 great films. I'm very happy about those films. It's a process that ended a long time ago, almost 16, 17 years. And each of us took a different path, but I think that I'm very proud of the films we make together.
The first rule of screenwriting or of any art is having no rules. Tell us more about this.
Yeah, because you know, screenwriting is full of rules. There are several manuals and books of how you have to write a screenplay, and I think that the rule is that every story needs to be told in the way the story is asking you to be told. You cannot push the story in only one direction. When they say you have to, because if people doesn't know, there are rules that you have to write in 3 acts, and in page 30 you need a turning point, and page 60 you need a turning point, and in page 90 you have another turning point, and everyone follows it religiously. And I don't think that works for every story. So I think the first rule of writing is that there are no rules. I think that in life, you know, there are tricks. A lot of tricks, but not rules. I have my own tricks. And sometimes when I teach writing, what I share is the tricks I have, or my process. I don't give rules.
Which is your way to deal with raw emotions?
With emotion?
Raw emotions, the basic ones.
I embrace raw emotions. I think the best thing that can happen to you is having raw emotions. And I fortunately live in a country where raw emotions are everywhere, you know, sometimes too raw. And that's why I haven't moved from Mexico City. I still live in Mexico. I wanted my daughter and my son to grow up in the Mexican culture, and I want them to be close to their grandparents, or to their uncles, to my brothers and my sister, or the sisters of my wife. I wanted them to grow in my country, because emotions have a different way to be expressed than in some other countries. You know, unfortunately, some of these raw emotions go in the worst of directions, but it gives you a sense of what humanity is capable of doing in its worst way. And you know, every country has a breaking point. I went to Germany and they told me that Mexico was a savage country, and I say, like, well, Germany 80 years ago was the most savage country in the history of humanity. And it was a breaking point of maybe a lighthouse of culture, which is Germany. If Germany, which has this powerful culture, who has Beethoven, Mozart, Nietzsche, Goethe, all these great writers and musicians and thinkers have that breaking point, more even countries like mine.
I quote you again. The only technique for writing has to come not from the techniques itself, but from the questions about important things. What are those important things for you?
The important things are, in my case, are the needs of the story. That for me is important when you are writing. The technique of trying to impose a rule, it's not serving the story. Sometimes you have to put yourself rules. For example, in the novel I wrote, the most recent I published, which is not still translated into Romanian, I only use words that were used before 1790, in the 18th century. So I didn't use any kind of modern rules. I took some important words, linking words in Spanish, like que, aunque, porque, and I even changed the punctuation. And those rules were very strict. They were not rules coming from the technique. They were rules that were coming from the story. So I think the important thing is what your characters need, what the plot needs, how the language is going to build itself.
Referring to the difficulties writing Amores Perros, you ask yourself, how would Shakespeare solve this? Eventually, how did Shakespeare help you?
I always think that Shakespeare has to be a guidance for most of writers. I think that Shakespeare is
This is one of your tricks. Think like Shakespeare.
That's one of my tricks. And what Shakespeare does is, the closer you have ties, the greater is the drama. And in Amores Perros, something was not working. I say, what will happen if a guy wants to steal the wife
Of his
brother? Those ties are so close, because stealing the wife of someone else, stealing the wife of one people you know, it's okay. Stealing the wife of a friend, okay. Stealing the wife of your best friend, stealing the wife from your brother, that makes these things even more dramatic. And that's what I learned from Shakespeare. The closest the people are, the greater the drama is going to be.
And there is another conflict between the brothers, with Abel and Cain.
Yes, of course. And you know, we have these myths from the Bible and from on many of the religious books from the past. There were always these fights between brothers and husband and wife and friends. When people are close, things tend to be more dramatic, no?
The battles in Amores Perros is not Cain against Abel, but Cain against Cain. Are we all Cains?
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. I think that I don't, it doesn't reflect in my books all the time, but I am a very optimistic person. I think that we can find kindness. It's just a matter of digging a little bit. And when we find evil, it's more difficult to find evil people than good people. Evil people are very few, very few. They are really evil, and people tend to be good. No, when I came to Romania the first time, I went to the countryside, and people tend to be good. They were not evil, you know.
21 grams had a handle bar for the audience, the light, the period of the day. I quote you, 21 grams, it was written in light. Give us a few details.
21 grams, I told this story last night in the presentation I have, in the event I have, that I have an infection in my heart, which was serious enough to need a transplant. It was far from, but the doctors say if the virus goes inside your heart, it will turn things difficult. It was in the muscle and it was in the pericardium. It wasn't inside. But if it went inside, which it was far away from happening, but just the idea of having the heart of someone else make me think of 21 grams. And then, you know, when you are in a compromised situation of health, your thoughts come and go very quickly. And you began jumping from one place to another, and that's what I did with 21 grams. It's a guy who's dying, and a guy who's dying is reconstructing the story in a jumping matter. You have a confusion of when it happened, if this was before or it was after. So that's what I wanted to portray in 21 grams. I remember that I wrote the first 60 pages and gave it to my father. And I say, what do you think about it? Is it too confusing? And says, no, it's very attractive. This form of storytelling is very attractive because it has me guessing, and so my father gave me the confidence to move on with the story.
And about the light? It's a little help for audience.
The thing about the light was something I discovered while I was writing. Because some of these discoveries are not, you don't find them beforehand.
It's not in your face.
It's not in your face. You begin and saying, well, naturally, these scenes, the first part happened during the day, naturally. So there's a reason why these are in the day, these are in the night. And so I began being conscious about the light. And I don't think that even Alejandro knew that there was this, I was working with the light. It was when we got to the editing room that I'd say, why do you have this scene shot during the day? It says afternoon, morning. now the light, now the scene jumps. And so I understand that light could guide the audience through all these jumping back and forth.
And they think that was from editing, but it was in your screenplay.
It's in the screenplay. It has nothing to do with editing. It's in the screenplay. The editor followed the screenplay.
Critics said that you allowed us to face some of the awful things that we could imagine, the kind of absolute life and death issues. But you do it with a lightness of touch. Where does it come from, that lightness of touch?
I don't know.
But it is there.
I don't know. You know something, since I was very much into girls and they were not paying attention to me, I began to be a man who makes a lot of jokes, you know? I think that humor was a way of approaching people. And I find that humor still remains as in the works I do. Sometimes the humor is not understood. It's not even understood by the actors. There was a scene in 21 Grams that was very corny scene, but I thought it was full of humor. Sean Penn, who has the heart of the husband of the woman he is now seeing, he has an affair with, he says, "This heart has not stopped loving you." But it was a joke, but they delivered it so seriously that they missed the point, you know. I was laughing when he says, "It's so corny, this heart has not stopped loving you." I wrote it like a joke, but sometimes interpretation was not always as a joke.
The best thing is to be honest and authentic with your own work. What do you mean by that?
I mean that you cannot be someone else. This is something I learned early in my career as a writer. You can only write what you can, not what you want. Because many people say, "I want to write like this," but you can't. So people is pushing once and again on a tradition they do not belong to. I would love to be a poetic writer. Would love to. I can't. I must accept my limitations. I must accept that I'm this kind of writer. And you have to be honest to yourself and say, this is the kind of writer I can be. I cannot be this other one. Because in the beginning I tried to be like more betraying myself. So you cannot betray yourself. And you have to understand that you write what you can, not what you want. If I would write what I want, I will always be a Nobel Prize and a millionaire. I will be like Garcia Marquez, who sold 500 million copies of their books and won the Nobel Prize. I will be like him. I can't. I would love to write like Garcia Marquez. I can't. I cannot copy Garcia Marquez because I can't. So you have to be honest and authentic to your own approach to the storytelling and accept the writer you can be, the artist you can be, not the one you want to be.
And you said, talking about this, the best, you do not choose what you write, it chooses you. What does writing mean to you?
Writing means accepting that you cannot control everything. There's no will in writing. I cannot tell you I'm going to write a masterpiece. I can't. And you cannot say I'm going to write about this and this and this and this, because sometimes you're imposing yourself in subjects you have even no idea. you're imposing yourself and you're not being authentic. No. Right now, for example, there are many writers who want to write about the situation in Mexico who have no idea, who have never experienced neither violence, and they just speak from a distant perspective, and you don't feel authenticity. You should let yourself soak in what it comes to you. It's not that it's important that you, but what it comes to you. And sometimes you do not have control on it. You just have to write and accept that you are that you have limitations. And so I like the subjects and the themes and the characters come to me and not me to them. I don't know if I explain myself.
Yes. What makes you happy?
Life.
You're addicted to life.
You know something, right now I'm extremely happy. My daughter and my son directed a film.
Or in Venice?
They were in Venice, they were in Toronto. And they are extremely talented directors. Right now they are being sought by the most important agencies in the world. But they are good persons. And they learn the name of everyone in the crew. They don't say, hey you, there's 100-something people. They never say, hey you, they say everyone by their name. And they never scream or shout it on set, never. Because I have seen these tyrannical directors mistreating people badly. No, they are decent, and that makes me happy. Being together with my family, this togetherness and support each other in the family makes me happy. So I think that life brings more happiness than sorrow, I think. I have a good friend of mine, Lucio Estrada, who is a farmer who doesn't know how to read and write. He lives in poverty, but he's always happy. He had a stroke and he's beginning to learn to walk again. And I call him and say, how are you? Ah, good. He's always happy. So I think that happiness is the normal state of humanity more than sorrow.
You're very optimistic.
I told you I'm very optimistic.
What does it mean to you to be free as a writer and as a person, and why it's so important for all of us?
I think an artist needs freedom. A writer needs freedom. Right now there are some mental prisons that people want to put into thinking and into the art, the political correctness. That's the poison of art. In order to be a good person, you have to be a nice person. This nicety is killing everything. And I get offended by your work thing. It's an enemy of art. You have to be provoked by art. You have to feel uneasy with art. You have to feel horrible things with art, at the same time of beautiful things, but not everything has to be so hygienic, you know, so clean, so nice. Niceness is going to kill societies and art because it's a subtle way of repressing. It's a subtle way of censorship. It's a subtle way of fascism. And you know, you come from an authoritarian country that in the name of the human values, they take away your freedom, they take away everything, so we will be happy. They determine that your happiness comes from what I determine, I dictate.
You are also a teacher. How hard is to teach writing, storytelling? What can one transmit to students?
Look, you cannot teach writing you cannot teach the profound and deep ways of writing. You can share your process. You can share your tricks. You can share your experience. That's what valuable. Like, I encountered these problems when I was writing, and I solved it this way. No, in a novel, or for example, with actors, you say if you write the lines like this, the actors are going to deliver like this. So you have to be conscious that the line, how they will be processed by the actors. It's different, it's completely different. And in cinema, the more clarity you have, the better director you are. The more clarity you have as a writer, the better writer for cinema you're going to be. Because you have to convince 100 people to go in the same direction you are thinking as a writer, and then as a director. So you have to put everyone in the same page.
You worked with such a great actor and actress. How was this experience for you? You talk about Charlize Theron, Jennifer Lawrence.
No, it's you know something. You have to understand sometimes that the best thing you can do is allow the actors to do their work. You know? And to trust your instincts. And I understand that every actor needs a different method to be directed. And that every actor needs a different method, and even one actor needs a different way to be directed in different circumstances. There's not a method to direct actors. So what I found with great actors or actresses like Charlize or Jennifer Lawrence, I worked also with Danny Houston, or with Jorge Jimenez, or with Chema Jaspic, John Corbett, Joaquin Dalmeida, is that everyone has a different process. And first, let them see what they bring to the project, and then you begin tweaking. Unless they have an idea completely different from what you have in your head, it's just a matter of tweaking, or pushing the actors to a limit they do not have, they don't know that they have. That's what you have to do, push them to go a little bit farther and farther and farther.
Is it difficult to push that limits?
No. It's difficult to push actors if you want to do it in an aggressive way. Actors will simply
step back.
Or they block themselves, or they just want to fight you, and they will do things. So it's better to be like, look, why don't we explore like this, and have a conversation.
Let's try this.
Yeah. I don't like to do rehearsals, for example. I want the actors to come what they have, and to have that energy, and to leave it on set, because I once worked with a director that rehearsed and rehearsed and rehearsed and rehearsed, and so when they come to set, they were completely drained. And you don't want them to be drained, you want to keep as much of the energy possible.
You have to record the rehearsals, so. How did your place of birth and Ritorno Street influence you?
In my street, I think that the best thing that can happen was growing up in the neighborhood I grew up. It was full of interesting characters, full of interesting circumstances, full of raw emotions, without any doubt. And it was at the same time a place where there were a lot of intellectuals living there, important Mexican intellectuals. It was a neighborhood built for teachers and journalists, the Union of Teachers and the Union of... So it was interesting. It was not like there were not educated people. There were maybe among the more educated. So it was an interesting place to grow up. And I love growing up in that neighborhood.
Another quotation. The duty of a writer is to discover the sense of death in order to celebrate life. Can you tell us more words about this?
I don't think is not writers, it's me.
Yeah, sure.
I think that that every writer has a different approach to the subjects. For me, it's finding the depth of life through death. You can have a sense of life. You don't have a sense of termination, of ending. I don't know who say that gods envy humans because they have just one period to do things, and that if you have all the time, you will not put as much energy to make life worth it. So that's what I want to discover. I don't think that every writer has to discover it. There are writers who don't even want to touch the subject of death because it's too painful for them, or they are too scared of death. But I have to be respectful. And if I'm against giving rules, I'm against of giving tendencies. So it's something that I want to do myself, not that I don't want all other people to do.
I'm wearing a shirt with Memento Mori. So.
Yes. By the way, the production company of my daughter and my son is called Memento Mori.
Wow.
Yeah.
You said that many of the stories came to you in dreams. Can you tell us if you have more dreams ready to be turned into stories?
You know something? I think that you write with the unconscious. You don't write with the conscious. And the unconscious presents itself with more force, more strength in dreams. Sometimes I go to bed with not knowing how to solve the story, and in dreams the story begins to develop and gives me some clues of how to solve the way I have to write the story. So dreams are a very important space to discover the stories I want to tell. Because most of the stories, I don't have an idea where I'm going, but they have been in my head for years. So the unconscious is the one who has been working on it. My sister, who is an extremely intelligent person, among the most intelligent persons that I have met in my life, told me there's not such a writer's block. There's not writer's block. It's your unconscious working in another rhythm. Once you discover that, everything feels fine, because it means that you're gonna get there sooner or later. It's your unconscious processing, and sometimes that process is revealed to you through dreams.
After a while. Attention deficit disorder allows you to understand the world through intuition instead of reason. How does it work for you?
Well, when I was a kid and had attention deficit disorder, I didn't understand nothing. I was flunking every subject in school. They were like talking to me like in Hungarian, which is one of the most difficult languages, or Chinese. I was like, I couldn't understand, and I was very confused because I thought I was stupid. Even my teachers thought that I was retarded because I understand nothing. I don't understand grammar. I didn't understand math. I didn't understand nothing. They were like speaking in another language for me. And I couldn't develop the sense of logic. Sergio Avilés, my best friend, thinks that I am just acting, that I can't. Say, I'm not acting, it's I can't. Say, no, come on, you're lazy. I can't. I can't. I don't know how you say, Fold. I don't know how to fold a shirt.
Okay.
I have never been able to fold a shirt. Never in my life. And I really, I seriously take, because right now that I am traveling, I only travel with a carry-on. I say I should fold it perfectly because it would not be completely wrinkled like it is right now. But I can't. But I don't have logic, but I have intuition, which is another way of processing life. And through intuition, it's not that I understand, it's that I get around and get to the same results that someone that goes through logic. And I think that intuition in my work is better than having logic.
Yes. You called car crashes nature's revenge on man pushing technological limits. Please elaborate. What limits do we push right now?
I think that we want to we have this God aspiration. We want to be the great creators of the world. We want to be the great transformers of the world. And I think that a car is that meaning of go as fast as I can from one point to the other. And a car accident is like reminding you and reminding us, more than reminding us, that pushing those limits can have consequences, you know. And right now we have in the world enough arms to destroy the whole planet.
Many times.
To break the planet into pieces.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous. So we are still thinking that we are the great species that can control everything. And sometimes car crashes, for example, remind us of our fragility.
Love can represent both pain and hope. What do you mean by that?
Have ever you been dumped by a girlfriend?
Yes.
It hurts.
Yes.
A lot. You know? And love can bring a lot of pain. They say that breaking up with someone you love can mean a serious impact in your health. And it also, you have to sacrifice part of yourself to love. And this is also painful. You have to stop doing things that you love because you have to conciliate with the other person who also has to sacrifice, and that is painful, you know. And so love can be also a source of pain. And sometimes desperation, because you love someone and you don't want her to go, but she says, no, I'm leaving. And you say, no, please don't go. And she ends leaving. And that can devastate you. It can kill you.
Yes, it can. But it's also hope.
No, love is the most important feeling. A society without love dies. A society that is not built around love perishes. I think that we need love in order to become human beings. Frederick of Prussia wanted to know what was going to be the language of the newborn. And he asked the nurses, don't touch them, don't talk to them, just change the diapers and feed them. You know what language they spoke? None, because all the kids died. Without love, without touching, you cannot develop into a human being. Without love, and you survive, you become a psychopath. You feel that you are betrayed since you were newborn, so you have this anger against humanity.
Writing gives sense to your life. Your work goes beyond you. You feel a big responsibility towards the readers. Can you please detail a little bit?
Yes, art is a way of fighting against death because your work is going to survive. Right now we're surrounded by paintings that I don't know how long ago they were painted, but we're still watching them. So art is a form of resistance to death. And I think that's the purpose of art, is to keep life pumping once and again and again. If you read Shakespeare, it still pumps the life. It still helps you to explain the world. So, first of all, you have a responsibility with life because it's going to survive you. And then I consider myself a professional and someone who makes an effort to buy my book and makes an effort to read it. And I have to be a professional. I have to work hard to be sure that there's going to be at least a serious work behind one of my books. I cannot guarantee you're going to like it, because this is, but I can tell you that I work hard, very hard, in each one of my books or my films.
The story tells us this is the end. So thank you very much for this interview.
No, thank you very much to you.
Mulțumesc și dumneavoastră, aceasta a fost emisiunea. Ne găsiți și pe YouTube, și pe Facebook, și pe toate celelalte canale. Mulțumim că ați fost alături de noi, toate cele bune!